idea. I mean, most of your killer icons, at least in the supernatural versions, are males, and if not all. I mean, but you can have a movie like the ones that are more realistic. Here's two examples. Um, you've got the killer from Monster, Charlize Theron, though that's based on a true story, I believe, and Mallory from Natural Born Killers. I mean, you can't tell me you're not creeped out by her. I mean, and but yeah, I would love to see a female, and you never know, that may become a new trend, because really, I mean, the horror genre in itself, though there's been some decent horror films, there hasn't been a really, really, really good one in a long time. So that might be a way to mix it up. So I mean, I actually think that's a really good idea. Um, so yeah, and she says she thinks that jumps and scares and music, do really well, and I agree. I mean, I'm tired of trying to make things just ultra violent just for the sake of making it ultra violent. The problem with the Saw films, as after say part three, was you knew who was going to die, and you knew how they were going to die just because they wanted to show them die violently, and I just got tired of that. So we'll move on. Andrew Robinson, he just had a trivia question. It says, who did Billy Wilder want for the main role in 7-Year Itch? This was actually a surprise to me, but I honestly think probably would have been a better pick, because this man is a genius, and that was Walter Matthau. And if I'm wrong, let me know. Walter Matthau, I guess, was relatively unknown at the time, and of course became especially a comic genius. So I mean, there's been plenty of people that's got passed up for plenty of roles and then they became successful. So that's just another in the history of movies. Um, Tina Robinson, of course. I mean, as many of you know, I'm a huge wrestling fan. She asked, and this is from a few weeks ago on WWE Raw. Says, what did The Rock suggest to Punk on WWE that he get a tattoo of and where? And I was just going to answer the question, and then I decided I'd have a little fun with it. So without further ado, here is The Rock to what I have to say was probably one of the best back and forth promos in a long time. Here's the end of that promo, and he will tell CM Punk what to get a tattoo of and where. The following is a poor impersonation of The Rock. But here's the thing. This is what The Rock wants you to do from now until then. The Rock wants you to go home and think about the next 20 days. As a matter of fact, The Rock wants you to go home and look in the mirror. As a matter of fact, The Rock wants you to go home, look in the mirror, and strip naked. That's what The Rock wants you to do. Go ahead and look at yourself. Don't concentrate on your cookie puss. Turn around and look at your backside. Turn around and look at your backside, and let's try to find a small space on this body that's not covered in ugly tattoos, because The Rock wants you to get 2 more tattoos. Some more tattoos. Here's the thing. Go ahead, and on your left butt cheek, The Rock wants you to get a big, fat M&M. And then add a Snickers, a Milky Way, a Mounds. You can't have an Almond Joy because, unlike you, Almond Joys actually have nuts. And then on your right butt cheek, this is what The Rock wants you to do. The Rock wants you to get the tattoo of The Rock size 15 shoe, so that you will have a lifetime reminder of how badly The Rock is going to kick your candy ass at Royal Rumble. So there you have it. Other than the whole cookie puss thing, that was by far one of my favorite. I think they could have came up with a better catchphrase, because The Rock's had so many. And a lot of people criticize The Rock for half-nav writers and stuff. And you can have all the brilliant writers you want, but you got to have the performer to do it, to make the part work. So, The Rock and CM Punk are two of the best when it comes to mic work, whether they come up with their own stuff or not. So there you have it. I decided to have a little fun with that one. I had to. We're gonna move on. Shelly Klinger says, "What is your favorite new and old cartoon from television?" Many of you that, those of you that know me, have probably seen my cartoon collection. I've kind of went on a rampage and collected a lot of the cartoons from my youth. Everything from uh, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Transformers to the old '90s X-Men. Uh, I have a lot of them, and some of them I have all of them. But really, I think it comes down to my favorite would have to probably be GI Joe, and that is probably because I have a great appreciation for our military. So, and I know GI Joe is very cartoonish, but GI Joe, is just it definitely sets a standard for ideals, and fight terrorism and. Because Cobra, I mean, I know in the cartoon they were kind of goofy, but if you read the comics for G.I. Joe, especially the Devil's Due ones that came out, uh, I think in the mid 2000s, um, Cobra was very uh, destructive and very smart. And, of course, I would let, some of the new cartoons versions of G.I. Joe that have come out have actually covered that. There's one called G.I. Joe Resolute that is everything I've ever wanted in a G.I. Joe cartoon. So, excuse me. So yeah, I'd have to say whenever it comes to old cartoon be G.I. Joe. New one, you would have asked me a few years ago, I probably would have said Family Guy. But that show is really, really more missed than hit with me nowadays. The only episodes I really enjoy are the ones where it's just Brian and Stewie going on an adventure, and that doesn't happen all the time. They started rubbing me the wrong way when it came to the Star Wars parodies, um, because the first one they spent a lot of time on, they did really well. Second one was okay, and the third one was it stunk. I mean that's all I can really say. It stunk. Um, so the cartoon series I'm watching now is Archer. Um, I find that show hilarious. It's a parody of everything spy, and they even make reference to James Bond like he's a character, and you just hope someday he will show up. And Archer is a goofy American version of James Bond, and I find the show hilarious. So it says, how about your favorite new and old animated movie? There's a lot. Same thing when it comes to old TV series. I have a decent collection of animated films. Here's a few older ones. My favorite of all time is Lion King, by far. Um, Especially, a lot of people will say, "What's your favorite Disney movie?" Well, yeah, it's Lion King. Um, and I actually got to see that in the theater for the first time when it was reissued. I didn't see it in 3D. I got to catch it in 2D, and I was thrilled. And um, but yeah, I love the Lion King. I love the characters. Part two was okay. That one and a half thing should never have existed because it just made fun and made the original a joke. But the Lion King, and especially I love Scar. So I mean, and of course you got James Earl Jones as Mufasa. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. Uh, Fairly more recent, Megamind. That movie really hit me like a ton of bricks because it had a great cast, the animation was fun, uh, and it just picked apart the superhero genre. And it was a lot of fun for me. So if you haven't checked out Megamind, Megamind is a great one. If we're talking anime movies from newer, like we'll say the last year or so. Um, well, first of all, the Ice Age movies they're pretty reliable, and Part Four has kind of a special place in my heart because it was the first movie my son Andy ever went to. I was impressed by Hotel Transylvania. I thought the voice cast really made that one. It had some parts I didn't like, but for the most part, I enjoyed it. Rise of the Guardians was a lot of fun. Wreck-It Ralph. I love that movie. It showed a lot of love for video games, and there was more I wanted to see, but I think there's going to be sequels. So I mean, I can't complain too much. I think they'll cover it, but that movie was a lot of fun too. And going back to older animated movies, I'm not a huge fan of Japanese anime, but there's one series, and there's only two movies, but you can call it a series, I guess, that I really love, and it was the first one I ever really saw knowingly. I mean, I'd seen like Voltron and stuff, but when it comes to movies, it's called Vampire Hunter D, and it's basically about a half human, half vampire that hunts vampires. If you ever get a chance to check it out, it's hard to get your hands on, but I mean it's available. It's a lot of it's pretty cool, very hyper violent. I saw a censor version first on the Sci-Fi Network late one night after I got home from work while I was going to college, and thought it was nuts. And then I saw the uncensored version and then was blown away about how hyper violent it was. But it had a great story to it. The newer version has a really deep story, and it's pretty good. And so if you get a chance to check those out, I mean, if you can handle, the blood, I mean, it's cartoon blood, but it's still, it's very dark artwork. But it's really good too. We're going to move on. Jennifer Walton Truitt, pop quiz. In 1984, retired manicurist Clara Peller, then 81, starred in a commercial and uttered a line that turned into a national catchphrase. What did she say? And I grew up with this one, and they actually just, I think it was last year, 2011, they come back out with a T-shirt. This was Wendy's. Came out with a T-shirt that said it on it because they wanted to, I don't know, bring it back, I guess. Where's the beef? I'm a hamburger fan too, so and I don't know if the story's true or not. I remember hearing back in the day that the reason she said it the way she did is she was hard of hearing. And like I said, I couldn't find anything to support that, but I just remember hearing something along the lines of the reason she said it the way she said it was because she had trouble speaking because she was hard of hearing. And not important, but that was just something I remember hearing back in the day. So yeah, where's the beef? She was the Wendy's lady, the where's the beef lady. So, and I actually am a big fan of those commercials. So I think they're funny, because I mean you could tell that lady was having a good time. So, Carly Martin asks, which director's daughter starred in an M. Night Shyamalan movie? And I'll kind of correct that question. It's movies. Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard, was in two of M. Night Shyamalan movies. The first one was The Village, which I'm not going to get started talking about how I feel about that movie. And the second one is Lady in the Water, and I'm really not going to get started on how I feel about that movie. But yeah, she was in two of M. Night Shyamalan movies. So yeah, Ron Howard's daughter, Bryce Dallas Howard. Bill Fields asks, if you could tell any director face to face how horrible one of his or her movies is, how would it, or who would it be, in which film? There's a list. If we're talking past movies, probably the top one would be Joel Schumacher and Batman and Robin. Though there's a little bit of the campiness I appreciate, it's a little bit. We're talking a grain of salt, little bit. Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin, Spider-Man 3, Sam Raimi. The reason that one was the way it was more politics, I think, than anything, movie politics, because Sony wanted Venom in the movie, and Sam Raimi didn't want to do it. He didn't like Venom, and so they pretty much, I think, forced him to do it. And then, of course, you've got the Topher Grace, I Like Being Bad, Venom, and it was, I mean, though I actually thought the animation wasn't bad, but having Topher Grace be Venom was kind of an insult to the character. I mean, Venom was always an older, worn out photographer, and I know they were trying to make him the anti Peter Parker, but I mean, we got enough of the quote unquote anti Peter